The police found no trace of Madeleine at Robert Murat's house. He remains an official suspect, but has always protested his innocence. Under Portuguese law, he'll be a suspect for 8 months unless charges are brought or the status is formally dropped.
In terms of the family, we need to know what there is about.
With Robert Murat no longer significant to them, the dispatches experts arrive at what in Britain would have been the first line of inquiry in the case of a missing child: the family.
The events that occurred that night. And
one of the reasons why any investigation into a missing child must initially focus around the immediate family members is because we know from research that something like 70% of child victims of homicide are in fact victims of family members, and therefore it is a crucial area of any investigation which has to be addressed very early on before the inquiry can actually progress and spread further.
The priority for forensic scientist Dave Barclay would be to test the physical evidence to prove the accounts given by the family.
Going back to your point about the forensic, when we look at the stuff to do with the family, because they've all got legitimate answers, there we'd be looking for things that don't fit, anomalies between what they're saying happened and what we've found from our observations. And they could range from just difficulties because you're overcome by emotion to what we call staging. The classic is a domestic murder, husband and wife, and the husband then tries to make it look like a burglary. Or he tries to clear up blood in the kitchen and doesn't do it successfully enough. That's staging.
Placed in the front row in St. Peter's Square.
1 month on, the McCanns were travelling around Europe to raise awareness of Madeleine, but suspicion about them was mounting.
How do you deal with the fact that more and more people seem to be pointing the finger at you?
There is absolutely no way Kate and I are involved in this abduction.
With the arrival of British experts in Portugal, further DNA tests were carried out as part of a review of the case. It's reported that they discover traces of blood in the Ocean Club apartment and traces of Madeleine's hair in the car the McCanns hired 25 days after Madeleine disappeared. Kate McCann is called in for questioning.
Kate is insisting she welcomes every opportunity to advance this beleaguered investigation.
The following day, her husband Jerry is questioned.
Kate and Jerry have both been declared arguidos with no bail conditions and no charges have been brought against them. The investigation continues.
David, are they still insisting on their innocence?
They certainly are. No further comment.
From early May, the abduction theory was immediately accepted because the McCanns reportedly said the shutters of Madeleine's bedroom window had been forced open.
The shutters have been broken open and they've gone into the room and taken Madeleine.
That there was no way that she could have opened the shutters herself. She'd definitely been taken.
And the powder stuck to that area, something sticky. But
with questions being asked about how an abductor could get into the apartment, our experts take a closer look at the shutters.
The shutter goes into the window frame, and I'll just stop that there. Right, that's the bottom of the shutter. And there's 2 finger marks off to the right. Do look as if they're from inside, and pad marks, finger marks.
And they're at some distance apart?
Yeah, okay.
They're not 2 thumbs, are they?
They look thummy. If I'm inside, I'm doing it, I'm going to be like that, aren't I?
Yeah.
So is that from the outside?
Doing it that way?
Like that way, and trying to push it up?
Yes.
But you'd never do that with those shutters because they've got a ratchet handle.
No.
You might try and help the shutter down, mightn't you? If the window's open and you're reaching in from inside, you would get that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they weren't allowed inside the apartment where the McCanns had been staying, Chris Stevenson and Dave Barclay test their theories at another apartment block. These shutters, unlike the ones in the McCann's apartment, are operated electrically, but Dave Barclay believes they could provide vital evidence in working out how the McCann's shutters could have been handled.
We've got some great stuff here, because this is aluminium, lightweight aluminium with a fine coating of some probably polyurethane paint or something like that. It would mark really easily, and it does.
Perhaps we need to just look at the angle of the thumbs, because now they're in a V shape.
And they're pretty well, you've pretty well got the whole of the thumb against it. If you go back the other way and do the same thing again, Right. Now you've only got the outside of your thumb on it. I believe it's from the inside. We must be very careful that we're not saying this is actually staging, but it's difficult to see how anybody could have interfered with those shutters from outside without leaving some trace. In fact, having looked at them, I think it's almost impossible.
If they were somebody that was actually within the family who was living in the apartment, then it would be difficult to draw any inference other than the fact that the person whose marks they are had at some time raised or lowered the shutters, which, living in the apartment, is probably, or could be, a daily occurrence.
The Portuguese police chose to interview Kate and Jerry McCann on the basis of physical evidence, specks of blood in the apartment and hair in the hire car. But even if the blood was Madeleine's, our experts believe it's far from clear how it was shed.
You wouldn't necessarily automatically expect to find blood if there'd been something happened inside, though. Just because we don't find blood doesn't mean to say that there hasn't been some sort of violence.
And indeed, if we did find blood, it's not unusual for children to trip and get a bloody nose and so on. If you found, in particular, I think in this case, or any case like this, blood on the floor where efforts have been made to clean it up, and the parents did not say that they'd done that, as long as it was the child's blood, then that would be very significant indeed.
Dave Barclay maintains that while the DNA results will tell you who the blood belongs to, without context, they can't explain how it got there.
Remember, forensic science is not just a single test result, it's setting it in context. So if you get a result that seems to indicate one thing, you'd want to confirm it by other tests from other areas.
Rumours about the forensic evidence go unchallenged. This week, there was a report that body fluids were allegedly found in the McCann's hire car.
I still find it very difficult to conceive of how those results got in the boot of the hire car, if they're as reported. And I'd like to keep my options open. You still got to work out where the body has been and how it got transported in the hire car that wasn't hired for 25 days. Just almost incomprehensible. So we should just wait and see what the results show. It's not beyond the bounds of possibility that they will completely exonerate the McCanns.
Now official suspects in their daughter's disappearance, the McCanns return home to Leicestershire, determined to challenge the forensic results and clear their names. The next day, the Portuguese police passed their case files to the public prosecutor. Press speculation continues unabated, and new theories emerge almost daily. Dispatches sent a team of expert criminal investigators to Praia da Luz to shed light on the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Forensic scientist Dave Barclay considers what might have happened to Madeleine.
Having seen the circumstances and the layout of the apartment, it looks to me more likely, the priorities are higher, that some harm happened to her within the apartment. No more than that.
Right.
He argues the Portuguese police forensics work may have compromised the investigation.
It's clear that the forensic examination on the first day wasn't what we would have expected. There were opportunities missed, and one of those opportunities did a great disservice to the McCanns. Had they been more aggressive in protecting the apartment and doing a full forensic examination of that apartment, it may have been that the McCanns were put completely out of it on day one. We really need to wait till we get the actual results. I've seen comments that the Forensic Science Service has said this or that, and I've worked for them for 20 odd years. I never knew any forensic scientist to give details of case results in a live case. So I think, I hate to say this, but possibly quite a lot of it has been made up by the media.
Team leader Chris Stevenson thinks the Portuguese police may not have been prepared for a case of this magnitude.
They only have very small number of cases of child abduction and child murder, and therefore it's inevitable that they won't have the same expertise and experience that we have in the UK. There did seem to be a lack of of grip almost in the first few hours, and we know from our experience here that that is a crucial part of any investigation.
It's now 168 days, almost to the minute, since Kate McCann reported that her daughter Madeleine was missing.